Who's one of the people that you look up to?
Dude, I look up to a lot of people, man. Recently, actually, it's a good question. Recently, for so long, I looked up to, and don't get me wrong, like I still look up to, like so many people on social media, right? But even more recently, I started looking up to like a lot more like billionaires and a lot more like companies and stuff like that. Because as much as I love looking up to like people that are making, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million, I feel like still that some of the decisions that they make are different than the decisions that people that are running a multi-$100 million or $1 billion a year organization would actually make.
Yeah.
So, now I try to like, now again, obviously like I'm not anywhere close to that, right? But, in terms of like looking at them to see like what decisions they make and how they do things and how, the just like things just don't affect them, right? Like you'll look at Elon Musk, he tweets a tweet, that his stock price is too high, and in a matter of a day, it drops by 10%, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't give a shit. I don't know if I can excuse my French,
dude,
but
all the fucking time.
Yeah, I love it, dude. But like, and you'll take a guy our age a lot of times, and they're afraid to do stuff like that. Yeah. And so I'm just like, okay, well, who do I want to be like long term, right? Do I want to be like Elon, and I'm not saying like, I'm not like relating myself to a guy like that, but I'm just saying, right? Like that would be, if I had a goal, that would be my goal, right? Yeah. Like dream big, think big, you know? Yeah. So I try to look up to like a lot of the big dudes, the Joe Rogans, right? Like the Joe Rogan, when I look at my podcast and obviously even this podcast, right? It's like, I want to be sure, like, I want to be, have 100,000 subs and whatever. And there's a lot of people that have that, but ultimately I want to be Logan Paul. I want to be Joe Rogan, right? At the end of the day, like why aim small?
Exactly. Dude, I feel the same way. When I was younger, I was obsessed with the idea of going to the NBA one day. Yep. And I would talk to my friends who also had the same aspirations, and they would talk about like, oh yeah, one day I want to go second round in the NBA draft. I want to play college basketball. I'm like, motherfucker, I want to be Michael Jordan.
100%. Right? 100%. And you should dream big. I think like we place our own limits on ourselves, like plain and simple, right? Like if you're not dreaming big, how are you ever going to achieve big, right? Like you can only achieve what you think you can achieve. So if you don't think you can achieve it, you're never going to achieve it, right? So there's definitely, look at Grant Cardone, right? 10X rule. That's all, a lot of your listeners probably know of Grant Cardone, right? I feel like a lot of people do nowadays. His whole, model, his whole branding kind of everything is like 10X, which is just simply the thought of like, okay, whatever you think you can do, multiply it by 10, right? And then aim for that instead. Yeah.
I like that. Fuck, I forgot what I was going to say. I was totally going to add something.
No, you're good.
What I was going to say about Grant Cardone is, one of the things that really resonated with me from the 10X rule was talking about higher quality problems.
Yep.
And I realized that after dropping out of dental school, before I was making any money online as a dating coach, I got a job, like I told you, at part-time at a restaurant, and they had this little quiz you had to take about the menu, and this other girl who got hired at the same time, she's like, "Are you nervous?" It's like, nervous about this stupid fucking quiz at this stupid fucking restaurant? Are you kidding me? I dropped out of dental school to start a fucking business. I'm not nervous about the stupid fucking quiz. Higher quality problems, you don't even, it doesn't phase you.
No, it doesn't phase you. No, and like I feel like that's like, like an entrepreneur, you are just that, right? You're a problem solver.
Yeah.
So, I feel like a lot of people get so worked up and bent out of shape over small problems. It's like you're never going to be a great entrepreneur then, because you're actually, in order to become more successful, you have bigger and more problems. So if you can't solve the little problems, what makes you think you're going to be able to solve the big ones? So I think it's just a matter of understanding that right off the bat, and then just like actually, like you said, right, like inviting bigger problems into your life. Like literally, like almost like that should be like your like freaking prayer or whatever. Like, hey, like I need some bigger problems. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So one thing I got from Grant Cardone as well that I still do to this day is every day I try to write down 10 of my top goals in my journal. Even if I just do it real quick. And one of them that I've had for years, and I wrote it down this morning. I was like, fuck, I don't know if I'll be able to do this anytime soon because of current events.
For sure.
But I want to have an event one day with 1,000 people there, and I want it to be sold out and overbooked. Higher quality problem.
Yep.
If I have 1,000 seats but 1,200 people want to come,
right?
High quality
problem. Yeah, I love it. And that's exactly how any listener should think. Everybody should think that. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a business owner, you're full-time firefighter, right? I always tell people I'm part-time firefighter, part-time babysitter. You know what I mean?
Without the risk of dying in a fire.
That's it, right? That's all we do. And at the end of the day, and Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it, right? Gary V's like, look, you can go be a COO or a CEO or a CFO and be out of the spotlight, potentially make more money, have less problems, right? Not have all the media coverage, all the bad publicity, all that BS, right? But you know, like you have to want to be an entrepreneur, right? You have to want, being an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily always mean you're going to make more money. Being the business owner doesn't mean you're going to make more money. I've had multiple times in my life where I pay my employees more than I make, right? And sure, like from a gross revenue perspective, it looks like I'm making a lot of money, but that's not the reality of it, right? You're reinvesting into infrastructure, systems, processes, the whole nine, right?
Right.
And on top of all of that, you're the one that if anything bad, like you're the last line of defense. And Gary Vee talks about that, right? So something goes wrong, it's all on you, right? Sure, your employee made a mistake, but it's not really their mistake. It's your mistake because you didn't tell that. You didn't give the employee the proper training to not make the mistake.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's been a big thing that I've been learning a lot recently, because when I got into online marketing, I was sold the dream of like laptop lifestyle, sit in your bed, write an email, make $1 million, right?
Yep.
That was Jason Capital's whole messaging back then,
yeah.
right? And now that I actually have revenue coming in, I got to hire a video editor. So I have a guy editing just kind of part-time, just the podcast, not everything that I do. But eventually I'm going to hire a full-time video editor.
Yeah.
I got Chris, who's my full-time marketing assistant, if you will. And then I have a guy, Brian, who's running my ads. And so I totally relate to what you said. I'm like, yo, what am I taking home at the end of the day?
For sure. Yeah. And that's the sacrifice you got to make, and people don't see that. Everybody, and again, it just goes back to like the highlight reel and all that crap, right? Like people see the highlight reel, they see the travel, they see the fancy car, the fancy watch, and, and ultimately they want to be you, but it's just like, and I'm not complaining, right? Like that's the last thing I'm doing. I'm like very grateful for everything, but you know what you're getting yourself into, right? Know what you're getting yourself into before you just look in awe at these people and want to be them, because, a lot of people, they don't know what they're asking for. And if they knew what they were asking for, I think a lot of people would make a different decision. That's why you have a lot of people that end up quitting, right? Because they didn't really fully understand what that looked and felt like.